Well, a very good evening and thanks for clicking on to the Christmas Eve edition of Logan's European Outlook. Hope everybody is all set for the big day, of course, tomorrow. Certainly, it is going to be a weather map of a big divide across the British Isles for the big day itself. And, when I actually do sit and think about this, folks, the overall idea that I've had really for the last month or so I don't really believe, and I don't know if I would truly accept that it was a bad forecast overall, because some fundamental facts that we're going to see from Christmas Day. And by the way, forecasting weeks in advance of one day is an exceptionally difficult thing to do. So I don't think I'm necessarily going to accept, perhaps people turning around and saying, you were out and out wrong, it was a terrible forecast, blah, blah, blah. Because I think you can argue, or I can at least argue, that the overall idea has been pretty good. I said a 50-50 chance of a white Christmas. I said that this is where it does go away from the accurate side of things, is the fact that I thought the Christmas to New Year period was going to be a lot colder. So I do accept that. That being said, for Christmas itself, we're going to see cold weather, which can be very hard to get, by the way, on Christmas Day, especially in the UK, where there's always going to be a natural tendency for milder as opposed to colder. It's hard to get cold Christmases. It's hard to get snowy Christmases. Traditionally, they often are mild and wet across the UK. But I went out on a limb and I believed that we would have a better chance at seeing something colder this year, and that was based on all the factors that I alluded to over the last couple of months with regards to when I was building the winter forecast. But all in all, you can literally draw a line diagonally across the British Isles. To the north of that, it's going to be cold. To the south of it, it's going to be mild. It's quite simple. We've got a frontal system that's coming up from the southwest. That's trying to push milder air north. But also, all the while, we're seeing colder air associated with a frontal system or behind the frontal system that's moving south. These two boundaries are going to merge during Christmas Day across the UK, and then the one boundary, as opposed to two separate ones, will then track northwards. And of course, as that moisture moves into the colder air that's in place, we're going to see snowfall mainly over high ground, but it wouldn't surprise me if we've seen a little bit of a wintry mix down to lower levels during the course of tomorrow here. So we're going to see cold. We're also going to see snow in some parts of the British Isles during the course of tomorrow. So as far as I'm concerned, if it had been, like I said in the previous video, just southwesterly winds and temperatures above 10 Celsius more or less across the board, that would be a complete and utter bust. So I kind of sat back over the course of today and thought to myself, do you know what? I'm not going to necessarily beat myself up over the forecast. I actually think it has been a pretty good forecast, if you ask me. Yeah, there's milder weather coming towards the new year, but it also highlighted the fact that we would see the possibility of a cold spell at the end of December. That, in my opinion, has partially happened. Now, the coldest weather has always been and will remain to the east of the British Isles over mainland Europe, and that is getting the winter weather that I thought we were going to see. But there's always that chance, even with Greenland blocking, of undercutting Atlantic weather, and that is exactly what's taking place here. Because if we look at the GFS here, this is the 500 millibar anomaly chart here for over the northern hemisphere. If you look at this, right, so this is the current setup here. We've got the UK here, Greenland, Iceland. We've got a big, strong blocking area of high pressure over Greenland and over the high latitudes here. And this is what I forecasted. This is what I highlighted, the potential for blocking us, Greenland blocking, and colder weather for a spell in the run up to Christmas. And in my opinion, that has happened. The problem and where we've went wrong here is the position of the Greenland block. You can get a Greenland high, you can get a negative North Atlantic oscillation. It all looks as if you're going to be singing and dancing. The problem is that if you don't get a southward extension of the ridge south over the North Atlantic and shut down the westerlies, you're always going to run the risk of milder air trying to undercut the block. And that's exactly what we're seeing. But there has been enough forcing of cold to the north that, in a sense, has kind of saved my bacon, if you will, in terms of it being a complete and utter bust. But realistically speaking, folks, had it not been for the Atlantic, this would have been a cold and snowy Christmas. This would have been the best Christmas probably since 2010 for the British Isles in terms of snow and cold and widespread cold at that. But it's obviously not going to happen. But that's why, because we've seen the Atlantic and the jet stream remaining very active, undercutting the high, nothing stopping it from coming in to the UK here overall. It is what it is, really. Let's have a look first and foremost at the Ecmwf for the Christmas Day period and also Boxing Day. What you can see here is, as we skip through the sequence here, if I can try and get rid of this here, I don't like that. Is it going to go away? Bear with me a wee second, folks. Oh, is it away? No, it's not going away. But what is interesting is the fact that we've got the two frontal systems merging. We've got wave one of wet weather moving northwards. Then we've got the secondary, more influential push of moisture lifting north. And of course, as that bumps into the cold air, by the way, really from about Birmingham north, I would classify this Christmas as being a pretty chilly one. Temperatures probably no higher than 3 or 4 degrees as far south as Birmingham. But as we go through early Christmas morning, this is in fact Boxing Day morning, in fact, you can see here the snow breaking out here over high ground, yes, but also maybe mixing down the low levels here. So you can see what is taking place. Then we've got a system that crosses the northern portion of France. That is going to bring all sorts of messy conditions. Very strong winds, but I think it's going to remain on the French side of the channel. So I don't think England is going to see much in the way of stormy conditions. Snowfall wise, and this is interesting, of course, this is the Ecmwf model, the warmer run, if you will. And you can see that here as we skip through Christmas Eve and into Christmas Day, you can see wee speckles of snow starting to show up. And then it's really as that moisture lifts further north later tomorrow evening and into Boxing Day, you can see here the outbreak of snow. And this, like I say, I need to emphasize this is the Ecmwf run. And that is a reasonable amount of snow seen by the model here as we go forward. Temperature-wise here, let's have a look at the 2-meter temperature projection here of the model. And it really does look as if it's going to be a fairly chilly day, really north, like I say, north of Birmingham. We're going to see a cold night tonight, hard frost across particularly northern portions of Scotland here. But then as we press through the course of tomorrow, we probably won't get above freezing in several parts, especially sheltered glens of Scotland, but even 3 or 4 degrees at the very best, so very widely, I think, over the course of tomorrow. So, like I say, a chilly day across the UK, with the exceptions, of course, of kind of south of Birmingham, and especially down towards Cornwall and Devon. We've got temperatures probably as high as 12 Celsius and heavy rain, squally winds associated with that as well here. Let's look at the GFS, and you can see here the same idea. Of course, the models now coming together, but the flip in the models has been nothing short of remarkable, actually, in all honesty. And you could see where they were kind of leading us up the garden path in terms of what was going to take place. But this is during the course of tomorrow. Going to be sunny spells, especially across the north, but leaden skies north of England, into the Midlands, parts of East Anglia as well, and staying cold You're going to also get a fairly brisk east to southeasterly wind, so wind chills are going to be sub-freezing throughout the course of the day. And then, of course, as we push later Christmas Day into early Christmas Boxing Day, you can see here the snow breaking out in the GFS run as well here, and that system eventually starts to push the cold air back out of the British airspace here, as you can see. Let's see if I can see the snow chart here of the GFS and see what the projection is. Bear with me for a wee second here. Sorry, folks. So you can see here as we skip back the snowfall that was seen over the course of today across parts of the Highlands, and then of course as we skip through Christmas Day, not an awful lot to speak about, but it's as we go through tomorrow night and into early Boxing Day, of course, that's when we'll see the snow breaking out. And actually, the ECMWF, I think, looking at this, is actually more bullish in the snow now compared to what the GFS is indicating here, which is quite interesting. And let's have a look at the daytime temperatures over the course of tomorrow. And of course, clear skies, light winds, reasonably light winds tonight across parts of central Highland Scotland. We could see -7, -8 quite easily across the West Highlands of Scotland. And then as we press through the course of tomorrow, the temperature is not really going to recover much at all. It's actually indicating some areas, remaining firmly below the freezing mark. And then as we press through the period here, the chill tries to linger for a period of time, and then eventually, as we push through next week, it's going to start to moderate here. So you can see here, this is the current temperatures over the British Isles at the moment here. Colder across the north, and we've still holding on to milder air across the south. Now, of course, the colder air is going to continue to press southwards, and we're going to start to see these temperatures here. For example, Coles Hill near Birmingham, temperature of 8 degrees. Probably about this time tomorrow night, we could be talking about temperatures only 2 or 3 degrees at the same site. So temperatures are going to be at their warmest tomorrow morning. Now, it was the same for up here in Rossshire, and the temperature the early hours of this morning was 5 or 6 degrees, and then as the day wore on and that colder air started to filter down from the north, we've seen the temperature slowly coming down. But of course, as we see the temperatures drop below freezing tonight, and then of course the sun comes up tomorrow morning, we're not going to really see that recovery in temperature much during the course of tomorrow. But we're going to see the temperature further south kind of drop through the course of the day, and then of course that moisture will eventually move northwards here. But it's going to be a slow mover, that frontal system, because it's going to be coming up against the resistance of the cold that's trickling its way south at this moment in time here. And so it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see exactly how much snow we're going to see from all this here through the course of the next 24 to 36 hours here. So that's it for today. Hope you have a good one, and I'll try and bring a video tomorrow, but if not, probably be back again on Boxing Day with more. Hope you have a wonderful Christmas, and I'll see you again soon. Bye for now.